Are we entering the era of affordable 1080p high frame rate gaming? Well, PIXIO seems to think so. At least 144 Hz 1080p, yeah. On offer today is the PIXIO PX248PA. Comes in the big red box. What do you get in the box? You get a very simple stand. This is a VESA mount monitor. It's a 100mm VESA mount, no problem. You get dual DisplayPort 1.4 as well as HDMI. It comes bundled with an inexpensive DisplayPort 1.4 cable that just barely passes DisplayPort 1.4 on our cable tester. Probably not a good cable to use with a KVM or an extension or a right angle adapter, but it'll get the job done for just this particular monitor with most GPUs. It also comes with a Phillips head screwdriver for mounting the foot to the stand. The stand's pre-installed. You can take that off if you're going to use a VESA mount. It's got a 4-way hat switch for your on-screen controls. This is a FreeSync premium monitor, which presumably means that AMD has evaluated the FreeSync capabilities of this monitor. And with the Leo Bodnar, we can see that the input delay is on the order of about 1.5 milliseconds, give or take. We can also measure that this panel out of the box is not in MPRT mode, which means that the panel is not running at 144 Hz all the time, regardless of the input signal, black frame insertion. That's a whole rabbit hole to go down. We're not going to talk about that for this because this is not a super high-end monitor. Similarly, if you look at the spec sheet, this monitor is capable of HDR, but it's a very basic HDR. The manufacture date on my particular monitor, even though I just got it, is December 2021, which is not a big deal, but that sort of says, hey, PIXIO is trying to get rid of these because the technology is moving on. This is an IPS type panel, and you can see that in our color gamut, our Adobe sRGB color coverage. It is a pretty good, accurate color monitor. Out of the box in the on-screen settings, you do have overdriver capabilities, and it comes on low by default. It also comes with FreeSync Premium disabled. So I enabled FreeSync Premium, and I'm happy to report that everything is picked up normally and adrenaline. For a test setup here, I'm using it with the GPD Win Max 2023 and an external 8GB 7600 XT. This is a pretty capable graphics card and a pretty capable gaming setup. I've also enabled the on-screen display to tell us how many frames per second we're running at in the corner. You can also get to that information if you just, bring up the info here, and you can see there it says 144 Hertz. Not bad. Real-world gaming with this? Okay, Doom Eternal. It's a little bit of a Twitch shooter. I'm going to know if something isn't right with how the monitor behaves playing a game like that. And playing Doom Eternal is a pretty enjoyable experience. The HDR option, you can turn on HDR in Windows and it functions, but it's not really an amazing HDR experience. It's a much better gaming experience. If you go in and out of HDR mode for watching a movie versus your desktop Windows browsing experience, yeah, I might be a little spoiled because I've experienced HDR on OLED type displays, which is a whole other experience. And OLED is a completely different panel technology wherein the panel actually does run really insanely fast. For doing this kind of panel with chase squares, it's kind of an unofficial way to just get a baseline. So you use a high-speed camera that's set for like 1/300th of a second shutter speed, and you take pictures of a square on the panel so you can, see how quickly the panel is changing. If the panel could change in 1 millisecond, that's 1,000 times per second, then you would only ever capture one square because every frame only has one square on in the chase square setup. But in this, we can see that, there are some frames that have 2 squares on, and doing the napkin math on how quick the panel actually is, it's on the order of about 3, 4, 5 milliseconds, depending on how lit up or how not lit up the square is. You want to count that. That's a really, really good result for an IPS type panel. In the olden days, you would have this kind of an argument where it's like, is it a VA type panel? Is it a TN panel? Is it an IPS panel? And it's really hard to compare TN, VA, and IPS, especially over a period of years. So like this monitor design dating from 2021 has one of the best IPS panels that I've ever seen. And certainly versus an older VA or TN panel, there's no disadvantage here. Usually an IPS type panel is slower. But this particular IPS panel, combination size, 24 inches, 1080p, resolution, whatever overdrive or magic that PIXIO is doing in their hardware, you get a very similar experience to what you would have had from a TN type panel just a few years ago. So you wouldn't buy a TN panel over this and lose out on the color accuracy because of response time, because the response time here is actually pretty good. Generally, it's getting to be the case that the real differentiator in response time is going to move up to a wildly more expensive display type like OLED anyway, and at around $150 US, this is a pretty good deal. That's about all there is to say about the PX248PA. Check out PIXIO's website for that. The panel behind it is a PX329. I'm a bit of a fan of PIXIO. I've bought some of these displays to use around the office. I'm thinking about using 2 of these to replace the older OEM monitors on Megadesk, because I've got a nice OLED 4K display, and then I've got 2 secondary displays on top of it. Kind of a fan of that monitor layout for productivity, gaming, and just keeping an eye on all of the chaos. So setting myself up with 2 of these displays in the upper left and upper right, high refresh rate. I mean, you get used to high refresh rate even on the Windows desktop, and you miss it when it's not there. And just dragging Windows around the desktop at 144 hertz, you really can feel the difference, even on this IPS type panel. PIXIO's done a pretty good job putting this together. And because it's got 100mm VESA mounts, I'm going to be able to use it with my monitor arms. So no complaints there. I'm Will. This is Level 1. I'm signing out. If you have any questions or anything that I missed or something you want me to take a closer look at, let me know. All right, I'm signing out, and I'll see you there.